Oh, there I am. Hey, tonight on the Back to the Future livecast, episode 91. Are you ready for USB 3.2? You got to be. A folding phone comes to Android, but there's no iPhold yet. Is the Apple tax too high? And the FBI and other intelligence gathering agencies are just not happy with end-to-end encryption. Tonight on the Back to the Future livecast. Go! Everyone, how you doing tonight? My name is it's Guy something, I can't remember, and I am one of the hosts of the Back to the Future livecast, along with other stuff that you'll see right down there. And I am joined. Let's start tonight with Warren. Hello. Whoops, no, that's not what I meant to do. I actually meant to do this. Hello, Warren. How are you, sir?
Hey, good. How are you?
There. Now I got your lower third happening.
Welcome back. Still live in Guatemala.
Things look dark. Things look dark where you are.
I could.
You probably should turn the lights up a little bit. Can you?
Alexa,
can you do that?
Turn up the lights.
No, more lights. You want more lights. You're dark.
I didn't find a device named lights.
Alexa, turn on bright light.
Bright light.
Okay.
Much better. And so we're going to, now that we have your camera problem solved, we're going right over to David. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. You know, one of these days, I will get this right. Yeah, I say that, but of course, see, now I can't find your lower third. There it is. This is why I need a producer.
You need to change that logo.
Is it? Hold on, let me take a look. Yes, I do need to change that logo. But you know, you haven't sent it to me.
I'll have some new ones soon. I will send it to you. Hi, everybody.
Okay. Hi.
Great to be here. How you doing, guys?
It's so exciting. Okay, we're gonna go over to. Here we go. Here's our usual cam. I have some things changed up. Frank is in the chat room. Hello, Frank. It's magic. It would be even more magic if I knew what the hell I was doing. I do struggle at times. My hair is still super long. You see how long my hair is? I'm probably not going to get it cut until I come back from Florida next month. You guys know about that trip, right?
We do.
Have I talked about that trip on this show?
Yes, and I will remember I said I'll be there at the same time as you.
That's right. But there's an added bonus. We're now also going to stop in Charleston on the way down. So here's the itinerary. We're going to Dunn, North Carolina, and whoops, don't you do that, other monitor. We're going to start in Dunn, North Carolina to visit some of her family. Then it's down to Charleston and we're going to have a day at each one of these places all the way down. So then it's Charleston, then it's St. Augustine. And then it's going to be the Daytona, Orlando area for a couple of days, and then the drive back. So it's like a total of 2, 7, 9, 10 days. 10 days in total. I'll be away.
Where does Charleston fit into that?
It just seemed like a fun place to go to. I'd been there. It was a long time ago. The naval base was still there when I was there, because they used to have a submarine base there. The U.S. Navy had a submarine base. It's not there anymore.
Now they have lots of plants.
Yeah.
Boeing,
and
Mercedes-Benz.
Well, I think they ended up, because I know a particular government agency took a large part of the former naval base, and that's what they use that for something else now.
Secret.
No, not really secret, but I can't say too much without never mind. You know, I'm going in a direction that I really, really didn't want to go in.
Let's
So-
go on to that news, shall we?
Hey, how
Said too much.
how about that stuff that we have in the show notes?
How about this one?
Yeah. Let's see here. So I'm so discombobulated tonight.
USB.
USB, same as it ever was. So this is a story out of ZDNet. There is a new USB standard. It's even faster. And actually this is pretty incredible news. If you remember back when USB C was first introduced, it would transfer synchronously 5 gigabits, which is pretty damn fast. Then 3.1 came out where it doubled to 10 gigabits per second. And now with 3.2, it's 20 gigabits per second. And for those that are just jumping into the game of new ports, there are really just two to talk about now, and that's USB and Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, they both look exactly the same. It's the exact same connector, and the only really way to tell the difference is the logo that is on the cable. And the confusion is just going to continue on because exactly that's get it even closer. Get it closer to the camera. I mean, just cram it right through there.
USB-C.
C, is that USB-C or is it Thunderbolt? Don't look.
It's Thunderbolt. No, it's USB.
So is that like a mini Mac Pro?
This is
It's kind of what it looks like.
it's a USB 3. It's an external hard drive enclosure.
Really, that's kind of cool.
It's awesome, and I put an SSD
Who's
in
that
there.
from?
I'll put the link in the note. It's nobody's Yacht Master, but it was $17, and it's really cool and it's fast. I actually loaded.
Well, it's spelled Yacht Master, but it's pronounced Throat Wobbler Mangrove.
Actually, it's Yoda Master. It's almost like Yoda
Okay,
Master,
same thing.
but with 2 T's. Yeah, it's 20 gig a second is now going to be half of Thunderbolt, which is 40. So it's getting there.
Need to put one of these in there.
I did.
Mhm.
Can you see how big that one is?
I'm not taking it apart, but I promise you, there's one of those in there.
1.92 terabytes.
I have nowhere to put it right now.
And it cost you a lot.
It
How
did. I used to have that. I used to have that in my old Mac Pro. And then when I gave my Mac Pro to my son Peter, it was like, you can have the computer, but you can't have this drive. So I threw in a bunch of spindle drives, and considering that, let me see.
2 terabyte.
Yeah.
Is that an SSD?
No.
Oh,
I got drives all over the place, man.
yeah,
Here,
I do too.
Here's one here doing something.
We all do.
Here.
Yeah,
Well,
lots of enclosures, and I don't even know
This
what's on
story
half of
really
them.
got us all on show and tell.
I know. Well, it kind of shows that this
But
should
this
be
one-
called the short attention span show.
This is but what I did on this one is like you could install Windows on it, like actually Windows, and
Right.
boot from
Actually,
this
I
drive
want
without
that.
boot camp, and it's crazy fast.
Without how would you boot that off of a Mac without Boot Camp?
You can. So there's
Oh, okay. Well, as long as you've explained it well.
long story short is there's a program called Windows to Go. It's a thing where you install. Well, it pretty much installs Windows on. Well, yeah, I know. It pretty much installs Windows on an external device, which is what it does. So this has Windows on it. And then without installing Boot Camp, if you hold Option down on any Mac, it will see it.
Oh, it just sees it as a boot drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's fun.
I'd never heard of that before.
Me neither,
All right.
but there you go.
Now for people who don't know the difference between
Big
USB-C and Thunderbolt, USB is basically, to put it in simple terms, one way at a time communication. So it's sending information, and then
One way
whatever
at
the
a
device
time.
is sending information back, which is why back in the day when we still had FireWire, even though FireWire in theory didn't have as fast a bus speeds as USB. It was actually much, much faster because it was asynchronous. It was sending information in both directions at the same time, which I know, crazy concept. But I believe, unless I miss my guess, Thunderbolt does that too, doesn't it? Send it in both directions?
So does USB-C and Thunderbolt.
USB-C does too.
Oh, does it? I didn't know USB-C was asynchronous now.
Yeah, that's why you could kind of, the data flows both ways. It charges both ways.
Okay. Well,
pretty sure.
Honestly, you know, they really need to have some kind of different cable port for USB-C and Thunderbolt. The fact that they both look exactly the same and fit in exactly the same way, I think is a really, really bad idea. I just don't think that.
Probably, but Apple is trying to get rid of as many ports as possible. So they're happy with this.
But, you know, I mean, but USB-C was supposed to be, because USB-C took care of a lot of things. Number one, I guess it took care of the asynchronous problem where it was just, you know, now it's in both directions. It's much faster. It's unidirectional. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to play the, oh, that was wrong. Oh, that was wrong. Oh, that's right game every single time you want to plug something in. And we've all played that game. I can't think of more than 3 times in my entire life that I have plugged in a USB cable and it actually was the right way and went in the first time. That's how that works. It's no, exactly. No, yes. That's how that works. So, but I mean, the fact that this connector was meant to lessen the confusion amongst all these different ports that people have been using for so long, and having 2 of them that use different standards but look exactly the same, I think is just messy. I just don't think that's a good idea.
So it's messy in the fact that some USB-C devices do not have Thunderbolt
right
in it. So that's messy for consumers.
Well, the controller chip for it is more expensive, I believe, for Thunderbolt.
It definitely costs more to put them in there.
Yeah.
But basically, the problem is if somebody goes to the store, somebody goes to Apple or Best Buy and says they buy a device, the easy part now in Apple's mind, the easy part is connector. So what kind of machine you got? I got a 2017 MacBook and it has this little tape. So USB-C is the easy part and Apple likes that. For the most part, if you're not buying a Thunderbolt device, it's much easier than having multiple ports because you could sell devices and people aren't going, what cable do I need? What cable? Because, you know, Apple hears that like all the time. Best Buy hears that all the time. What cable, what dongle, what cable. So they want to get to a point where USB-C is basically it and people don't need to worry about that. So again, the only problem that's left is somebody getting a Thunderbolt device that they don't have a Thunderbolt computer
controller for. They don't have on their
so they'll buy a hard drive, and I mean the only good news is you would probably know because a Thunderbolt hard drive costs about 3 times. Yeah. Costs about 3 times as much as
why am I laughing? I don't know why I'm laughing.
But it's So a Thunderbolt hard drive is a lot more expensive than a USB-C hard drive. So you know, there's that. So it's simpler from a sales perspective to deal with one cable. It is confusing though.
All right, Dave. Sorry. Did I cut you off? Did I cut you off, Warren? No.
No.
Coming back to Dave. There's Dave.
By the way, Frank says the Warren has big hands.
I know.
I saw that.
That's the first time.
I got big hands too.
You know what they say about big hands?
Yeah, you got to get big gloves.
Big gloves. Yeah, I agree.
I got size 16 feet.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I agree with Warren. This it needs to be standardized, and I think that's even with the iPad with switching to USB-C. Things going to happen with the iPhone soon, I bet. Just universalizing everything with these connectors, and then increasing the speed. I mean, the speed continues to increase on these devices, and what can you say? It just keeps going. I mean, every time I turn around, I had to, when I got my MacBook Pro, I had to buy, I wanted to buy connectors, so I had USB-C cables like these. I didn't want to have converters, so I had to go to USB-C, USB 3.0 or 3.1 adapter to a USB-C. So it's here to stay, and the speeds are just going to continue to fly. And this is again same standard. So,
well, it just seems like it makes not only does it make sense from a manufacturing standpoint, it makes sense from a consumer standpoint as well, because now and everybody complains. One of the big complaints about Apple is, well, they change this stuff all the time and you have to have dongles and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, the 30-pin connector for iOS was around for 10 years.
Yeah, it lasts a long time.
Lightning has been around since the iPhone 5, I think.
Yes, that's right.
Was that the first one, or was it the 4S or the 4?
I think
it's
so.
5.
Okay.
The 4S.
All right, so the 5.
Was
So it's been around it was around for 6 years. And now with USB-C, you have it's a better connector. It's one that will solve hopefully many more problems than it's going to cause. I just wish that USB-C and Thunderbolt look different, because it to me it's just a little more confusing. But that's me.
Yeah, but it's confusing, but so is the myriad of
That's
cables
true.
out there now. I mean, it's terrible.
Let's-
Micro
let's-
USB, USB 3
all
with
those.
that connector, and then there's just too many. So whatever you need to do to kind of get it down.
Well, what
And
was the one? Was it USB 3 that had the hump on top, the camel hump on top?
No, that's the printer cable. Old USB.
No. There was. Oh, there's a USB-C cable. It's square on the bottom, and then it's got this other square thing on top, and it's no. That's just as confusing
that's a USB
as well.
3. Yeah, that's USB 3.
Yeah, there's another
I
one.
don't
It
know
doesn't
about
matter. It doesn't. It sucks.
So,
It sucked as a cable, and I don't care.
Just one point that
Yeah.
The one thing is, you said people get upset when Apple changes their connectors. Everybody changes their connectors. People get upset because historically people spend a lot of money on places to dock their phones, and those docks
or other peripherals, clocks, and God knows what else.
Well, right. Well, docks with music players and clocks and whatever. So when everybody went from that, now that's the issue, that people have cars. A lot of cars still have, like my Audi 2015 Audi. It has an iPhone port.
It's a 30 pin.
Yeah. My
Kia has USB 2 ports, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's probably safe for a little bit, but that's why people get pissed off. So, that's also why Apple wants to push everybody to wireless, so they don't have to deal with that crap too.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next thing, which is anybody want a folding iPhone? The iPhone.
No.
Yes.
It's a story from Apple Insider. Samsung and Huawei is right behind them, and so where is the folding iPhone? Or maybe the better question is, does anyone really want one? So far, the few examples are crazy. Now, people talked about Apple having expensive phones. The Samsung folding phone, and I can't think of what the name of it is. It's some silly name. Is like $2,000. Fold, yeah. It's not Samsung's fault. And the Huawei, I know, sorry. The Huawei is like $2,600. And in essence, it turns your phone into an Android tablet, which not many seem to want either. And it seems weird because you can get both of those things for 1/3 the price of buying one single folding phone. The big advantage seems to be having multiple apps on the screen at the same time, using app continuity, which Apple doesn't really have anything like. So what do you guys think?
Well, I'll say
You gonna start off, Dave? Start
sure,
with
why
Dave.
not?
Hello, Dave. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, that's my DJ voice. Yeah.
This is Gen 1 of this product, so I mean it's got a long way to go. I mean, yeah, it's nifty and all. You can fold it out, you can get a full screen, you could put multiple apps on it. I mean, I think it's got a lot of good concept, but just like everything else that's been out in the marketplace, it's Gen 1. It's something we gotta play around with, see how it is, but it's expensive. $2,600 to invest in a phone.
Who is going to spend? Now, all right, I almost said something really stupid. I almost said, who is going to spend that kind of money on a phone when everyone has been complaining about the cost of the iPhone 10 and the 10s and 10XR S Max? Okay. So, the Android fanboys have been complaining about the cost of those particular phones, and most of them have been remarkably quiet about the cost, and this is like twice the cost of this Samsung phone and 2.5 times the cost of the Huawei phone. And
it's
here's the thing. You've got this app continuity thing, which is part of the reason or part of the way that other devices that I won't bring out right now allowed for you to use Android as kind of a desktop operating system, of which there is no equivalent in iOS other than, you got the Mac, of course, that's a desktop operating system, but it's not like you can switch between a mobile OS and what kind of looks like a desktop OS with iOS. Only Android can do that. So what?
With Chrome, yeah. Chrome OS.
Well, yeah, but see, Chrome is kind of a different beast because that's meant to be more of a desktop operating system as compared to Android. With Android, and that's the thing with Android. With Android, you can do both. You can have it be in desktop mode and then turn around and it's going to be in mobile mode. But you can't really do that in Chrome and you can't really do that in iOS.
Do you have an iPad?
Yes, I do.
Do you like your iPad?
I love my iPad.
So
using one application at a time, I love my iPad.
And why do you like your iPad compared to your phone?
Because it's the long-lasting computer that I have with me at all times. That doesn't necessarily mean that I like the fact that I can only run one app at a time, especially if I try to do something more serious with it.
I'm not talking apps. What I'm talking about is size, okay? Screen size, all right?
Yep.
And, you saying that this is a fad or a thing is basically saying...
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah. It's going to be a thing. Because who would not want to take something like this and be able to make it into something bigger when they want to and run like an iPad stuff on there? Everybody. Because there's no reason why you wouldn't want a bigger screen at times when you want a bigger screen. There's no disadvantage to it and there's only advantage of it. That's why people get bigger laptops.
Battery life.
Yeah,
no. Okay.
I have no doubt that this is going to be the wave of the future for technology. I mean, my God, to have a folding device, would we be talking about this 10 years ago? Probably it would be like in a fantasy world. So, I mean, this is a good start. I mean, I think Apple is going to probably do it at some point.
They're definitely they have prototypes out there, I'm sure now, and I'm sure they're doing it. They're just not going to release it until it's ready to be released, and when it's ready to be released, we're all going to love it and we're all going to want one, and it's basically going to look like an iPhone that doubles into an iPad, and that's going to be great, and everybody's going to want it.
Yeah,
and then we'll all sing huzzah to Apple for this innovative phone that folds or has dual screens.
Listen, if any company can find a way to get a bigger screen in front of your face, that's the goal.
And not make it suck.
And not make it suck.
It suck.
When Apple and Samsung and Huawei can figure out a way to like physically neurologically mount a screen into your brain. That's what they'll do, because that's the end game. That's the end goal. That's their business, to put a screen in front of your face right now. And if it's a more comfortable screen because it's easier to look at and bigger, then people will use that more.
Okay.
I don't see
the advantage. I don't see the advantage right now for Apple to have a folding phone, because I don't think iOS really supports that. At least not switching. No, I'm not talking about iPad versus iPhone. I'm saying that you've got it. Well, actually, I guess I kind of am. You have a version of iOS that works on a large screen, the iPad. Then you have a version of iOS that works on smaller screens, which is the iPhone. But there are differences between these two devices. And as far as I know, and as far as I guess anybody knows, there is no magic software that allows you to say, okay, I'm going from this small screen to a larger screen, poof, and it's going to be on the same device and it's just going to work. It's not there right now.
No, but if Apple came out with a device that was an iPhone that folded out into an iPad and became an iPad, when it's folded up, it looks and feels like an iPhone. It works like an iPhone. When it opens up to an iPad size, it works and feels like an iPad. You wouldn't want that?
I don't know.
Why? Why wouldn't you? Pretend the battery's not an issue.
Pretend the cost isn't an issue.
Pretend the cost isn't an issue. Pretend the size of the phone is not an issue.
I just don't see the current stage of iOS supporting something like
Stop
this.
saying current stage of iOS right now.
I have to say that because
who knows iOS 13. I mean, you don't know what they're planning.
You don't. I mean, the current state. I don't. That's why it's not out yet. I don't know. But even let's pretend it is a current state, and as I said, it's iOS 12, and when you're on your phone, it works like your phone, and when you unfold it up, it works like your iPad Pro, whatever you got, or Air or whatever, and that's what it works like. You don't think that's Pro, so you don't think that would be good? Okay. Well, you go around carrying around your two devices for no reason, and I'll carry around my
I'll carry more than that, mister. I'll carry around as many devices as I want to. I think it's going to be good.
It's just not ready for prime time now.
It's not ready, but
it's not ready yet.
There's a reason for it. It's not like there's a purpose for it. Okay.
All right, the big question is, what about the size of my hands?
They're pretty big.
Yeah. I think we all are.
I don't know. I just don't know if I don't know how well it's going to work. And until I can see a working prototype, and and this isn't like fanboy Samsung came out with it first, so it sucks, or Huawei came out with it first, so it sucks. They actually have something that's built into the operating system that allows you to take advantage of a larger screen and do it on the fly, to have up to 3 applications running at the same time on the same screen. Apple doesn't have anything like that yet. So until I can see what Apple's interpretation or what their implementation of having a folding screen is going to be, I'm going to reserve judgment because I just don't know. Yeah, I need to wash I do not. My hands are fine, mister. I wash my hands after every other time I go to the bathroom. Every other time. At least, well, maybe every third time. But
sometimes I turn on the water and pretend I'm washing my hands, and because I'm too lazy to actually. I'm too lazy.
Or I'll wash my hands. I'll wash my hands. It's like there's a towel 18 inches away. Nah, I can't be bothered with
next
that.
Story.
All right, next story. Is the Apple tax too high? Yes. This is a story from finance.yahoo.com. Many large media companies are complaining about the 30% cut Apple throws onto any type of sale through their platforms. This amount can vary depending on the type of service. First-year video subscriptions can be 30%, with future re-ups dropping to 15%. Apple's news service, according to reports, is 50 cents, 50%, with the remainder split among content providers depending on how long or how much is consumed, with no data to these companies either way, which doesn't bother me at all. Frankly, the fact that part of the deal of consuming content is that the company that's providing the content gets to know who I am, where I live, what my IP, well, not so much what my IP address is, that's almost a given, but all of this stuff that they don't need to know to feed me whatever the article is that I'm trying to read, or whatever the stupid little cat video or whatever along those lines that I'm trying to consume. I just don't think that they need to know all those things. And the fact that Apple gives me a barrier between myself and all these sources is, I think that's a plus as far as going to a lot of these. I mean, let's face it, how many of these sites have you guys gone to where you get through like the first paragraph, and as you start to scroll down to the second paragraph, all of a sudden it comes up and says, whoop, you have to turn off your ad blocker in order to see the rest of this, or you need to give us your email address, or you need to give us this, or you need to give us that. And I just don't like that. And I don't see any reason for them to have all that information. And Apple's news service doesn't give it to them. What do you think, Dave?
Nope. No, I mean, I've talked about this at length over the last couple of episodes of my podcast. News,
which is
In Touch with iOS.
There you go.
And I mean, Apple's taking 30%, and then they work out deals with the other providers with apps, and then that's what it is. I mean, you're getting your name out there, you're getting your app out there. I mean, and app developers seem to be okay with it, and your content. I just talked about the other yesterday about the subscriptions, or the subscription based apps now. It's the same thing. They app developers are starting to find that they're not making money anymore on these standalone one-time purchase apps anymore. So that's changing. So even with the news app, with the rumors they're talking about, probably the announcement that's going to happen at the end of March here, they were talking about 50%. That's a lot. But you know what? It's getting all those magazines who are subscribing to magazines anymore. I mean, they go to these services now. And that in itself is good, is a great thing. So you get all this content all in one place. Newspapers, on the other hand, hard to say where that's going to go. In the same
the dead tree versions are falling to the wayside every day.
Right, but you got the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. All three of those papers are the biggest papers in the country. And if not the world, people were reading that content, but they charge a lot of money for them. So, are these guys going to be able to work out something with Apple if and when that they're putting this in the news app? Hard to say.
Well, what do you think, Warren?
Yeah, pretty much just the same as what you guys were saying. I mean, we talked about it before, and it's all quantity, right? At this point, Apple, has the power in the fact that they could go to these magazines and newspapers and say, listen, we have blah, blah billion people on our devices, and, and we have their credit card numbers. And, if you join us, we'll take a big cut and we won't share the data, but your exposure is going up. It's
the difference between getting something and getting nothing.
Right. And that's why a few of the big ones are still holding out, or at least they were as of last week, the Washington Journal and New York and all that. Because they're weighing
they're the Metallica of the newspapers. That's what it is.
They are. So they have their bookkeepers, doing the numbers to find out what's up. And Apple sort of does need them to come aboard. I mean, this is not a slam dunk service for Apple. If not enough content comes into the news app, it's not gonna work. But you know, for the smaller places and the newspaper and for the magazines, definitely, I think they've tried it before with magazines. This is not the first time they even tried. They used to have
there were some third party aggregators for this, and they all just fell apart.
No, they own a
They
company.
used
Texture.
to have their own. They own Texture, but before Texture, a few years ago on the iPad, there used to be a magazine app, or there was an app,
There was
and
an app.
I hated it because it was
horrible.
they tried to be interactive. If you remember,
Yeah.
you clicked on things and things popped
and
up.
didn't it actually turn out that it had some like malware that was attached to it as well?
It was by Apple. I don't remember that, but it was.
Oh, by Apple. Okay.
It was by
It was an
it was an
Apple
Apple app, and it was they put magazines out there, and they just did a horrible job. Yeah, they just did a horrible job implementing it because again, they tried to Apple it up. They tried to make it interactive, and you would you would be trying to read an article and you accidentally click something, and some guy starts talking to you or popping up, and it was bad. It was badly implemented. So they've tried it before, and again, it's we'll see. I think what you said about the dead trees, that's more of a it depends on where you are. When I lived in London, there are a lot of dead trees around, and they're still doing those papers. You go out, you can't
page
walk
3 girls.
you can't walk too far on the tube without getting.
What was that? The Sun that was doing that?
The Sun, the Daily Mail is the.
Was it?
Was it the Daily Mail?
I don't. All I can remember, I would leave my hotel, and I would be on my way to where I was working at the time, and I would have a 5 pounds worth of coins in my pocket because at the time, besides having pence, which was easy to figure out, it was 100 pence to the pound. They had shillings, and they had farthings. And there was like 3 or 4 coins. It was like, wait, this one is 15 cents and this one is 2.5 pence. And
what
this other, it's like,
twist?
What the hell does this all mean? So I would go to like
lots of coins.
A lot. And then you had the pound coins, which weighed like a pound. And you could have 5 of them in your pocket and you would be like listing to one side. So I would go to like a newsstand on my way to work and I would get a paper and I would get something to drink. And I'd pull out like a handful of this money and I said, I don't know what this means. So I'm going to count on your honesty to take as much as is necessary to pay for the items that I want. And he would like paw his way through and then I could put the rest in my pocket and go on my way. Yeah.
Well,
so that was the tangent.
Nowadays with newspapers in London, you don't have to even pay for them. They just kind of stick them in your face. You just walk and it's actually like they get offended if you don't take their newspaper. So, yeah. There's that.
there's that. So,
so yeah.
So we were talking about the Apple tax. So you seem to think that the Apple tax is too high at 30%. Or are you talking about with the news service where it's 50%?
Well, it's high for people who have to pay it, I guess. I mean, the newspapers aren't happy with the 50%, I'm sure.
Well, I think the weird thing is I think they would complain less about it if Apple was sharing the data. And I don't think Apple's interested in doing that.
No, they'll never do that.
All right. We're going to go on to our last story of the evening. The FBI has a sad face. They have a sad face. The FBI and other intelligence agencies around the world are unhappy with Apple and others that allow end-to-end encryption in communications between apps and the people that use them to communicate. This gained prominence with an incident in California where Apple refused to help unencrypt an iPhone that had been used by a suspect who was killed in the execution of the crimes committed. Apple's argument was that even they had no way to decrypt messages, contacts, and other information on a locked iPhone without potentially weakening the privacy features of the operating system, and that assurances for a requested backdoor into the operating system by the government were not convincing enough to prevent unauthorized use by others in the future. So this went round and round and round. And the biggest argument for them to put in a backdoor seemed to be, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't know about that argument. On the face of it, just kind of sucks. I really, really don't think that that's an argument that you want to put out. Excuse me. But the fact that the FBI and other, because I mean, let's face it, this would be a tool that wouldn't stay in the hands of the FBI or the CIA or the NSA. It would get out and it would find its way into the hands of other countries that may or may not have the best interests of their citizens in mind when it comes to their private information. What do you think there, David?
Yeah, it's this continues to be a debate. The government's still going to continue to push this, and Apple's still going to push back. I just don't see how anything is going to change with this topic. I mean, the terrorists and other criminals are conducting all kinds of bad things, and we got to stop them. I mean, and the only way to stop them is not allowing us to decrypt our devices, because they think they're going to get our information, and we don't want them to. So yeah, pretty much all I can say about it. And this, we've debated this at great length over the last few years. Like you said, the incident back in San Bernardino a long time ago now. Geez, a couple years ago now. That was a huge headline grabber for years now. And it just continues, and I still think I'm still on Apple's side. It's good that they encrypt this, and they won't let them in.
What do you think, Warren?
Yeah, same. I mean, I'm not a privacy nut like some other people, but I don't think that, letting people into your phones is a good idea either. Obviously the counterpoint would be if, this stopped a mass murderers or, some kind of terror plot, and, somebody found a phone and was able to get into it before it happened. That's always a counterpoint, and that's what the FBI is saying. So,
well, yeah, but the problem is that, this is like Pandora's box. This isn't all or nothing kind of deal. And if you put in a backdoor for any intelligence agency, you get into whatever devices it is that you're using, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad or an Android device or your Mac or a PC, it doesn't stop there, and it's not going to stay within the realm of the three-letter agencies in this country. It's gonna get out, and it's gonna get into the hands of other people, and not just intelligence agencies, but people that you really, really don't want to have access or to have backdoors into your devices.
There was a time where airports didn't have scanners, okay, and I'm sure when the first scanners came in, people were like, "What is this? There's a machine now that's going to look at me when I go through and look through my bags. This is crazy. This is totally against my privacy." And it's it's the perception. So this is one of the things where 30, 40 years from now, we're going to say, "Wow, I can't believe we let people have devices that we weren't able to see if they were going to be bad." And that's exactly what they are. That's what they're saying.
But the difference is an X-ray machine isn't going to have access to your banking information. It's not going to have access to the personal data that defines you as you. All it's going to be able to do is look at the contents of your purse or your backpack or something along those lines. Even the body scanners, it's like, okay, you can see the overall shape of my body, but you still don't have that much information about it.
According to what you think and this perception, and people, I'm sure at first people were like, "No, I'm sure you could see inside my brain and know what I'm thinking," because you don't know, people don't know. And this is also perception.
Static.
And but this is also perception with the phone. People might be, people are thinking, "Oh, they'll have access to everything," when in reality, maybe it's not. Maybe they only have access to certain things. People will think the worst. All right, when something comes out that invades your privacy, your brain goes into like the worst possible scenario of what they could do to your privacy, and that's
okay.
always
Well,
going to be
why
the
why
case.
is that? Because
Because we're
most
paranoid
most
humans,
well, it's not even a matter of paranoia. It's I think
and
the
there's bad
difference
people.
is, yeah. Well, you've got groups like, case in point, Facebook. You've got Google. You've got Yahoo. You've got Apple. You've got various government. You've got all of these organizations whose main job it is to gather information about the people that use their services, or the citizens of whatever countries that they belong to.
Why? Because they want to make money. I mean, that's all about money. They're not doing it for
Of
their own
course, it's
personal
about money.
health, right? So airplanes want to protect the airplanes, and that's why they do what they do. And banks protect their stuff, and that's what they do. And Facebook gets your data because they want to get money. I mean, there's always reasons for these things to happen. People, that's how business is going to keep going forward. And you know if Facebook and Google wants to get information because they want to stay in business, then then that's what they're doing. And if the airports want to put a security device in there because they don't want their planes exploding, then that's their business. And if the government wants to put something on their phone because they want to stop, terrorists from doing something, or people killing 100 people in a mall, then that's what they're doing. Again, that's the reason. I'm not arguing for or against any of those things. I'm just saying there's reasons why people do it. Society comes up to a conclusion of there's bad people, there's people that want to make money. How are they going to do it? How's it going to happen? And that's and as a society we figured it out. Deep.
No,
Deep.
I don't know how to respond to that. I look at these kinds of things, and maybe I am paranoid, but I based on my experiences, I expect the worst from these companies. I expect the worst from government agencies, and so far I haven't been disappointed with those expectations, because so many times they have rung true. It doesn't necessarily make me happy, but at the
Wrong through
same
how?
time,
How?
I don't want to even go into details.
Okay.
I just feel that the less information these companies have, and the less information that three-letter agencies have all over the world about me, or anybody in particular, is a good thing. That keep them guessing. Why not? You know, you can play you can play the, what about the children card, or what if it prevents some big mass shooting. But this is like, is it worth losing everything that you have to how does this saying go? Those who give up, I was like, oh darn it, those who give up their freedom for security end up with neither. And that's kind of the way I feel about it.
Well, I mean,
There is no such thing as a perfect world. There is no such thing as perfect security. And I work in security.
but
There is no such thing.
until
The
the world's a
world,
utopia, it's
it
not
never
gonna.
will be.
It never will
The
be.
world will never be a
No.
utopia because of people.
Yeah.
And because of the way that we are hardwired and to compete for resources and food and women or men and all the rest of that, it just doesn't work. And you do the best you can, but you got to have the checks and balances. And those checks and balances should include, my stuff is my stuff as far as my data goes. And the less people have of that, the better. And here I am doing a podcast that millions of people can see at any given time.
Millions?
Millions.
One
Well, no, I
million.
said potentially. I didn't say that there were millions watching. I know better. I see the download numbers. But potentially there could be billions of people watching me right now.
Everybody send 1 penny to Guy.
To Guy. Yes. I'll retire.
You'll have 1 billion pennies.
Patreon.com.
Yeah. Patreon.com. All right. Anybody else have anything for this? Or are we going to move on to close out the show so Warren can see the last episode of The Masked Singer?
Masked Singer.
Last Singer.
It's the last mask.
The last Masked Singer. All right. Warren, my good man, how can people get a hold of you? As he knows, saying that they just can't. Call you on the phone?
Call me up.
Okay.
Call me up. Walkie-talkie me.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
Oh my God, it's time to stand.
What about Okay, Dave, what about you?
You can find me on my podcast, intouchwithios.com. I have a new episode coming up this week with Allison Sheridan. I also do the podcast Off the Charts Horse Racing, offthechartsHorseRacing.com. Both of them are on iTunes. Do the Suburban Chicago Apple Users, president of that great group. And you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65.
Excellent. You can, let's come back to here. You can find out more about me by sending me an email. My email address is guy@mymac.com. I can also be found on the Twitters, MacParrot.com or VertShark over there on the Twitters. I just recently posted an opinion piece over at mymac.com, and most of the stuff that I do, audio and video, can be found, excuse me, over on VertShark. If you'd like to, If you'd like to help support the things that I do, you can subscribe via coffee.com, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, or patreon.com/MacParrot. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And I think that is going to about do it for this evening. Thank you both for being on. And yeah, thank you to everyone. Yeah, that is me. Thank you to everyone who has either watched this in the future or caught us live. We are so much better live because we don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment. But we appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to join us here this evening. And listen. And listen. Download and listen. Very good. You have been paying attention.
Gotta do both.
Where's my stuff? There it is. So we're gonna go. We're gonna go now. So you guys, please say good night. Your first name.
Good night. Your first name.
I knew you were gonna.